Hello, my friends. Today we're going to be talking about an issue which weighs heavy on the heart. To see your country turned against itself. Citizens against cops and whites against blacks. Yes, my friends, if you haven't guessed already, I'm going to be talking about Ferguson today, how it started, and why it's still an issue now. You see, it started when, in Ferguson, Missouri, if you can find that, it's kind of a small town in Missouri. Darren Wilson, a police officer, shot Michael Brown dead. We're going to get into the details of why he did this later, but for now, we're going to talk about how the citizens peacefully, as they have a right to, assemble to show against police brutality. But the sad thing is, other people saw this as an opportunity to hijack the protest and make anyone who is against police brutality look like lawless criminals. Yes, my friends, at first, the people of Ferguson were peacefully protesting, but then people came from out of town, from places like St. Louis and other cities, and took over the protests, and it got nasty. At first, it was just a bunch of angry people burning things down. That's what it is today, but it's gotten a little worse because now, instead of just burning down companies, which ain't a good thing by any means, I'm not saying that. All I am saying is they weren't shooting people yet. During their first and second protests, they were violent, but they were burning things down and burning businesses down and stealing from stores. You know what, Ferguson protesters? If you really cared about Michael Brown, you wouldn't be looting stores in his name. You should be ashamed of yourselves and should be ashamed that you're destroying businesses the people of Ferguson need to survive. Businesses owned by black people, by people who are not white. You're burning that down. You should be ashamed of yourself. Anybody down there who's burning anybody's business down for no reason other than a kid got shot, so let's go burn things down needlessly and steal stuff, should be ashamed of themselves. They're acting like lawless pieces of dirt. It got worse when Darren Wilson said that Michael Brown charged him, and this made black people say that cops are racist, which there's cases that they are. Not every cop is like that. Just like not every black person's a criminal that's burning down Ferguson. But eyewitness reports early on said that Michael Brown charged Darren Wilson. Darren Wilson said Michael Brown charged him. Michael Brown had just committed a felony and robbed a store and was being arrested by Wilson and attempted to charge the police officer. The autopsy report seems to back up the officer's claim. Now, to the protesters in Ferguson, they don't look at the evidence and think, well, Now, there is a lot of evidence here. No, they just bully people and want to burn things down because it's a great opportunity to loot things. The thing is, these looters, a lot of them, they're leaders, the leaders of the protests, who are burning things down and now shooting people, have been paid off by George Soros. He has paid $30 million to these guys to see them wreak havoc. Why? 2 reasons. One, it further divides the cops and the population because they see what's going on in Ferguson. They see this bogus case where this kid got shot because he tried to charge a police officer. And they see the people reacting to this and think people have gone crazy. Also, it's a great chance to try to get martial law instituted in which they will shut down our freedom and confine us under police state law and under the authority of the police. They will take our freedom away and tell us that we have to live with curfews. We have to go here at appointed times and there at appointed times, and we're only allowed to leave for work and we can't do anything else. And then it'll get worse from there. So that's why he's poured $30 million into the Ferguson riots. It's an unfortunate thing that we're not protesting real police brutality like the case of, let's say, Eric Garner, who was needlessly killed. That one I'll admit to. And Kelly Thomas, who was a white man who got beat to death. But at first 2 cops, but later like 8 piled on top of him, and it was just brutal. He was screaming for his dad and for God. He was just a harmless, homeless person who allegedly was vandalizing vehicles when all he was doing was just sitting there in his little box. He didn't deserve to get beat to death. Why not use him as the poster child for police brutality? Because Ferguson is controlled opposition to police brutality. And they're using Ferguson as their own sort of poster child as to why people who are against police brutality are violent, lawless criminals. They're making us, who don't like police brutality, look like lawless criminals by having their little agents in Ferguson stir up trouble. You don't believe there are people down there who are paid off. Look at it yourself. Soros poured $30 million into this. And trust me, it's getting worse. Because right when they're losing the police chief in Ferguson, and right when it's coming out that all this corruption was actually happening in Ferguson, then it looked like it was going to die down now. Because they got the police chief out. It came out there was a lot of corruption and unconstitutional traffic stops in Ferguson, but no. The stupid paid opposition down there can't let it die down now. They have to keep it going. So they shot 2 police officers last week. 2 police officers got shot by Ferguson protesters right when it looked like it was dying down. If that doesn't look like suspicious, if that doesn't look like it is suspicious, excuse me, then there's something not right with your computing and your brain. Soros pours $30 million into it. It's dying down. The police department is being exposed for corruption. They're firing the police chief. It looks like it's going to be good from here on out. Then all of a sudden, these 2 police officers get shot by Ferguson protesters. That doesn't smell like paid opposition to you. It doesn't smell like the people in Ferguson are, at least at the top levels, trying to make the rest of us look bad. Then I can't help you. That's what it is. Look at it for yourself. People in Ferguson, stop doing what you're doing. If you really are angry that Michael Brown died, burning things down, shooting cops, hurting people is not going to bring him back. Quit being idiots. Quit being low-life pieces of dirt. Burning things, killing people is not going to help you. It's not going to help your cause. It ain't going to bring Michael Brown back to life. So quit acting like idiotic 2-year-olds throwing a temper tantrum. Okay? If you don't like what I'm saying, then deep down you know it's true because you wouldn't be getting mad unless what I was saying about what you're doing is true. Is there police brutality? Yes. Do I believe Michael Brown was a victim of police brutality? Not really. Maybe they could have tased him and he didn't really have to die. But if someone's charging a police officer in a threatening manner, and the dude is 6'4" and over 200 pounds, and just committed a armed felony, then it's understandable why someone would pull their gun out and defend themselves. We, as citizens, have the right to do it. Cops have the right to do it. That doesn't mean I like real cases of police brutality countrywide, like the Kelly Thomases or the Eric Garners or what have you. Those are the people you want to use when you're saying you don't like police brutality. You don't want to use criminals like Michael Brown and then start burning things down like idiots. You are scum for burning people's businesses down and for shooting people and for creating riots that don't need to happen. None of this needed to happen in Ferguson. Al Sharpton, the Obama administration, they're also behind the violence in Ferguson. Heck, even Al Sharpton went down there when it first started. When it was first starting to really boil over. So, people of Ferguson, make sure you're armed. Defend yourselves against these protesters. And to the protesters out there, you should be ashamed of your actions. Killing people ain't gonna bring Michael Brown back to life. It ain't gonna help your cause. Burning things ain't gonna help your cause. You're making yourselves look like pieces of trash. You are pieces of trash. This has been Andrew talking about Ferguson. God bless every one of you.